A time of wonder and hope comes alive in the details of how the infant Jesus came to lay peacefully in a manger in Bethlehem. Looking at nativity scenes like this one, what do you notice? Who is gathered around the Christ child? We can easily identify Mary and Joseph and others from the nativity story. The three Magi, the shepherds who were out pasturing their sheep when they were told by angels of Jesus' miraculous birth. What other kinds of worshipers do you see? Angels? What about animals? Sheep, a donkey, an ox. In one of the earliest depictions of the Nativity, found on this 4th century Roman Christian sarcophagus, the infant Jesus appears along with an ox and a donkey. In a 1450 Corpus Christi celebration, the Ordo Paginarum notes that Jesus was lying between an ox and a donkey. These two animals are the ones most commonly represented in nativity art. Yet here is a mystery. You might be surprised like I was to learn in the Gospels there is no mention of animals in the nativity scene. How can this be when we know that animals certainly had a place in the first Christmas? The Holy Family stayed the night inside a barn at a crowded inn, after all. Many of those guests at the inn on a winter night would have traveled with animals, like Mary and Joseph did. So we know that there would have been animals nearby. At the very least, the donkey that Mary rode from Nazareth, and sheep under the care of the shepherds who came straight from the fields, and possibly camels ridden by the wise men on their journey to Bethlehem. What the animals did for shelter that memorable night, the Gospel story does not say. But over the centuries, Christian artists have helped to fill in that picture for us. On their canvases, the blue-veiled mother sits or bows radiantly near Jesus. And, more often than not, the animals are right there, front and center, often in a central place in the composition. They look on at the Christ child, hovering directly over him, directly over the manger. Remember, the animals were the first ones to share at Christmas, making space in their stable for the Christ child and his parents. Remember, Mary and Joseph, when they could find no place to stay, found refuge and acceptance among the animals. As described in the Gospel of Luke, Mary gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. So we know the newborn Jesus was laid in a manger. This detail would have surprised Jesus' first followers, and it should stand out to us as peculiar too. Why is baby Jesus in a manger? A manger, of course, is an open box or trough used to hold food for animals. Typically made of wood or stone, it is located on the ground or slightly above the ground at a height for animals to feed. In nativity scenes, we can imagine the manger's curved edges, which typically held hay or grain for cattle, horses, donkeys, and other animals, has become the perfect crib, the perfect bed for the Christ child, its curved edges hugging in around him as he sleeps. On the first night, we find Jesus sleeping in the manger, exactly in the place where animals feed, his body literally in a place for food, where hay and grains are eaten. The word manger comes to us from the old French manger, to eat or chew, that earthiest of animal actions, and for Christians, one of the most sacred. Christians have long reflected on the profoundly symbolic act of placing Jesus in a manger, finding a connection to the Holy Eucharist, where Jesus himself becomes food for humanity. St. Cyril of Alexandria in the 5th century explains, the setting of Christ's birth points us to the Eucharist. Since through sin man becomes like the beasts, Christ lies in the trough where animals feed, offering them not hay, but his own body as life-giving bread. So, why are the animals in the nativity scene hovering so close? What are they doing, their heads hung right over the top of the manger? Are they looking for their hay? Are they adoring Jesus? Are they wondering how this human child ended up sleeping on their dinner plate? In this vast cast of characters, who are we, the faithful, invited to identify with the most? Equal to the magic of 3 wise men worshipping and offering sumptuous gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to a foreign child born in a stable, The presence of the humble animals in nativity scenes invites us into a time of wonder and contemplation. What of the innocence and humility of the animals that shared their shelter and manger with the Christ child that night? And what of the expansiveness of the divine vision, the theophany so bright as to reach all creaturely hearts, sheep and donkey, oxen and camel, elephant and human? What vision of peace can we find there?